Lakeside Title.
I was gonna do something, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Good morning. Okay, tell you a little bit about Lakeside Title and Escrow. We're a full-service title and escrow company. Our main operations are in Gilletsville, Tennessee. Chad and Erica Waters are the primary owners of Lakeside Title and Escrow. Some of you may know them. They're Hendersonville residents, lifelong Hendersonville residents, lived here a long, long time. Right now, we've got 15 employees, retained 15 employees on staff, one of which is a real estate attorney. We also have 3 different branch locations that we've opened in the last several years. We've got one branch location in Huntsville, Alabama, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and also Clarksville, Tennessee, which is our newest location. How many of you guys have ever bought or sold a home before? So everybody pretty much in this room has bought and sold a home at some point in your lifetime. How many of you guys chose the title company that you closed with? Okay, Bryce, okay. Well, a lot of times, people ask me, well, who is your clients? Who's your clientele? And a lot of times, you think the general public would be your clientele. And that happens on some occasions. I would say less, and Rodney could probably back me up on this, less than probably 5% of the time does a client, which is a homeowner or a future homeowner, pick the title company they're going to use. Typically what they do is they rely on the mortgage professional or they rely on the real estate professional, the agent involved in it, because they trust and have that relationship with them that they would move them to the right place to actually take care of that transaction for them. So a lot of times people ask me, who is your clientele? It's kind of a different world because we deal with people in the general public. Not every day they come in and say, hey, I need to get a quote on my title policy. Unlike you do with homeowners and automobile insurance, those kind of things. And then we've got our other clientele, which are banks, credit unions, mortgage lenders, so on and so forth, and real estate agents. So it's a diverse type of demographic that we work with as far as different people that are involved in any type of real estate transaction. People ask me a lot of times, say, well, Brad, do you guys have an attorney? Yes, we do have an attorney. Just like Rob Martinick, you're not Rob, but Rob normally sits there, that is a insurance person. Tennessee is not an attorney state. You're not required to be an attorney to be able to practice or issue title insurance in the state of Tennessee. Some of the adjoining states to Tennessee, like Georgia, are considered attorney states, where you do have to have an attorney that closes a loan. So therefore, a lot of times what we do or provide is notary services. Even though we do have that attorney on staff, we provide notary services to be able to go out and close those transactions for all of our clients, regardless if it's in our office, in their office, maybe in a home, a Panera Bread, whatever the situation may pick that it may be and when it's going to close, we'll do those kind of things. So the reality is it's a diverse mix that we work with. Most people do not pick their title company unless they've got a relative or know somebody that's in the title business. So the bottom line is that's how that typically works. What is title insurance? Just like Rob, where he basically offers auto, home, and he brokers that out or has an underwriter company that he can farm that out to see who's going to have the best rates. The title industry is the same way. As a title insurance company, we do have underwriters that we have to go to, 2 of which are probably the top 7 in the world. The North American Title Insurance Company is one of our underwriters, and Fidelity Insurance Company is one of our underwriters. Both of those provide different rates and fees for different transactions, and we try to be conscious of the fact of what's going to be more reasonable for a particular client that lives in a certain area, because based on the areas that you live in, like a higher urban development or area than a suburban area, it's going to be a little different as far as title insurance rates are going to go, just like it would be with homeowners downtown Nashville compared to White House, Tennessee. So there are differences that go along with that. So keeping that in mind, it is just an insurance policy. That's what it is. It's called a title policy. And what the title policy allows you to do as a homeowner is it insures the cost of the real estate transaction through the duration of the time that you actually own that residence is what it does. So in the event, for an example, if a person like Rodney, a mortgage person, a real estate agent like Harrison, just a customer that walks in off the street, if it's a cash deal instead of dealing with a lender, the first point of action that we take is we conduct what's called a title search. When we conduct a title search, obviously, what are one of the first things we're looking for when we're looking on title? What would you think? Liens. Liens is what we're looking for. If Gary's in a position where he's going to purchase a home for $250,000 or $300,000, then he's going to entrust us to make sure, if that transaction comes to us at Lakeside, to make sure that there's no liens or any encumbrances on that particular property and the way it's recorded. So typically what we do is we do a full title search from beginning to end to make sure that there are particular liens or there's no liens on that particular property. Now, when you get into different transactions, there's things such as lender's policies and owner's policies. And when I say policy, it's just insurance policies. Typically when there's a lender involved, the lender's going to want what's called a commitment, which is prior to the issuing of the title policy. The commitment would be that we have done a full research on that particular property to make sure, for an example, if there was a first and second mortgage on that property, then those are going to have to be paid and released at the time of closing when the purchase takes place or a refinance. If there's any other UCC liens, things of that nature, or maybe mechanic liens that have been attached to that property over that period of time, then we have to pay those off as well. So sometimes they come back with all kinds of different payoffs that we have to get, and then sometimes it comes back there's no payoffs. But our job is to make sure that we issue a commitment to that lender on every lien that's got to be paid off and released in that transaction. They can't just take Rodney's word for it on an application that the bottom line is, well, I just got one mortgage. And they didn't know that the wife took out a second mortgage 10 years ago. Okay, and they're divorced now and they're gone. So you wouldn't believe some of the stuff we see. But the reality is that we've got to make sure all of those things are paid off. When that's done, and then we close the loan, then we can issue a title policy, and that is going to cover the homeowner. In the past, most title insurance, basically, like I said earlier, when that title policy is issued to the homeowner, it's going to cover them for the duration of the time that they own that property. I don't know recently if you guys have read or saw, it's been several months ago, with the way that Nashville's growing and just blowing up downtown, people are building everywhere. East Nashville, they're buying 1 acre lots, they're having them subdividing, putting up shotgun homes and those kind of things. Well, the builders decided that, okay, if we've got so much room on over every lot that we can build a house, and based on codes, we've got to be this far off the access or egress, whatever you want to call it, to build the house. But they figured, okay, what we'll do is we'll do the meets and bounds and build the house up, but when we get up high enough, we'll build it out, and then we'll build it up. And I don't know if you guys saw this or not, codes recently came in and said, no, that's not going to work. You got to fix it. These are people that have already bought and purchased homes. So keep in mind, when you talk about an owner's policy, what does that cover? It covers encroachments, it covers meets and bounds, it covers all of those kind of things, but it does not cover anything up. Okay? It does not. Now, they've recently come out with what's called enhanced title policies. And enhanced title policies cost a little bit more. Who would have thought that? A little bit more to get than just a regular title policy. And it does cover meets and bounds. It does cover encroachments and things of that nature. So it's funny to see how this industry is changing from day to day and how it involves so many different details in regards to new buildings and things of that nature, and some of the designs and layouts of the new homes going up downtown, and how close together they are. If you look at those kind of things, it's incredible to see all that. As far as title goes, you talk about the importance of making sure that the title is vested properly. Sometimes, a lot of times a client comes in and they just want to sign the paperwork. The rate was going to be on the property 3 7/8. It was on a 15-year fixed mortgage, for a 15-year mortgage, and the loan amount was going to be this. That's the main thing they want to know. A lot of times they don't talk about how the property should be vested. And basically there's 3 different types of vesting when it gets into how it should be recorded on title. So one of the things that we see as tenants in common is probably the one is probably more used than not. And when I say tenants in common, I'll explain a little bit of the difference in each one of them, try not to confuse you guys, but try to keep it simple. Tenants in common, basically what that does is it allows somebody to have a joint type partnership on a title and the way it's recorded. A lot of times when you talk about tenants in common, for an example, let's say Rodney and I bought a home, okay, and it was going to be an investment property, or Gary and I, whoever, and we do it as tenants in common. Well, it's important when you get in those situations that if you've got questions to ask that title company how it's going to be vested and how it's going to be titled and recorded. For an example, if we do tenants in common, Rodney and I, if I pass away, common sense would tell you that Rodney would get the whole part of the investment property we get. Well, that's not true, because as tenants in common, my part would go to my heir, which would be my wife Kelly, that would get a third, and then my siblings would get the other third of that. Now, if it's titled as tenants in common with rights of survivorship, then if I pass away, he gets 100% of my part. So that's just one example of just making sure that things are recorded and titled properly. It's not just going in and closing a loan and walking out. There's questions that should be asked, and a lot of times that's not really explained. Tenants in its entirety basically is husband and wife. Tennessee's a homestead state, so bottom line is, if you're married, you do need to have, even though you may just be the one on the loan or just the cash purchase, you and your wife need to be on that title. If you don't have a will, she needs to be on that title. Just for the simple fact that if something did happen, and that's where it says tenant's entirety, if something did happen, she would inherit that part of the property, okay? So a lot of times if it's not, then it's not going to be vested properly and recorded properly, and then it can create estate issues. Then I'm not going to get into probate and all that kind of stuff because I'm on a time frame here. So that gives you guys a little bit of an idea as far as the title part goes. Now, how do we differentiate ourselves from our competition? Now, that's where it gets fun to me, because most title companies that you've ever been in, it's kind of stuffy. It's kind of like funeral home-ish. You know, it's kind of like, man, I don't know about all this. You know, it should be an exciting time, right? I mean, if somebody's buying a home for the first time, and you know you're getting a situation where you're coming in there and you're buying your home, man, it ought to be great. Right, Bryce? Yes, just like when you guys got married. It should be fun. You know, when you come in there, I mean, one of the things we do, and I call it the FACT method, is this, because the F stands for flexibility. Now, there's a lot of title companies out there that's going to say, okay, well, Rodney calls you and says, hey, I need to close a loan at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday. Oops, sorry, I don't have that spot. Can you move it to 2? Or no, we're booked on Thursday. Can you move it to Friday? Oh, well, I got the buyer over here, but the seller's going to be in Bowling Green. You know, I don't know how we're going to do that. Well, I guess you need to find somebody close the seller side over in Bowling Green, because we're not going to do it. That's not us. That's not how we operate. We're flexible. What we do is we have mobile notaries, access to mobile notaries, and that Kentucky example is a prime example of what happened the other day. I had a situation where I had a person in Franklin that was a buyer. The seller had already moved from Franklin to Bowling Green, so we arranged to get up in Bowling Green and get that done and get the package put together. Mobile notaries that specialize in getting out and doing the things we've got to do if it's not in an attorney state, okay? So what we do is we get those taken care of. So flexibility is important. So we're not going to work around our schedule. We work around our client's schedule, because that's the way it should be. As far as the A part of the fact is accessibility. We're not an 8 to 5 or 8 to 4 company. We do open at 8, but we don't close at 5. We could be there at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. That way anybody has access to us when they need access to us. If you need access to the owners, all the way down to the purchase setup, or the processors, or me, whomever, they got access to that. We provide all of our clients with all of our staff's phone numbers. That would be most of them. That would be their direct office lines and some of their cell phones. That way if they need access to us, they can get us. Because a lot of times, especially on the weekends, when does realtors work? On the weekends, right? Most of the time. You know, if people need to call and get a hold of somebody, then we're going to let them get a hold of somebody. We're not closed on Saturday, right? So that's the flexibility, accessibility part. The communication part's what I think is the most key part of all of this, because it's all a moving part. You know, if Laura's involved in the and I was going to say real estate. Harrison's involved on the real estate side. Rodney or Laura's involved on the mortgage side. I mean, there's moving parts to that, and we're involved in it. So all of us have to communicate to make that work. But more importantly to me, you know, and especially in the sales industry, just like Gary's having his own company, he's out selling, right? That's what you do. There's a lot of repairs and selling. But the bottom line is the sales part is the key component to making that person money and making them successful. So they need to be freed up to do the things that they need to do to make more money and not have to worry about it being handled on our end. So we're gonna communicate, over communicate, and not apologize for it. We got different parts set up during our purchase setup system and our refinance system that we got at least 4 to 5 touches that go out to our mortgage companies, banks, lenders, real estate agents to keep them in the flow. Is it necessary? Not really. But we're going to, because we want them to know where they're at in the process so that they don't have to worry about it and they can move on and do what they've got to do. The other side of that, the T part of it, is teamwork. And I think it's probably the most critical part is building strategic partnerships with my clients and our clients. Because the bottom line is, if I'm concerned and want to help you meet your goals and be successful in what you do, that's what it's all about. It's about being there for you, providing a good quality service, and really taking a genuine interest in you and your family to make sure that you're getting the kind of service you need that it's going to prosper you at the end financially. And that's what we're here to do. We want to work together strategically with our partners, whether it's a real estate agent, a bank, a lender, general public, whoever it may be. We want to work with them to accomplish their goals, and we're going to help them get those goals. That's who we are and what we do. So that's what I call the FACT method. So outside of that, you know, there's a lot of other things I could talk about in here today as far as title related issues, so on and so forth. I got a million of them, stories I could tell you. But Lakeside Title and Escrow, we're a very flexible title company. We're accessible. We communicate. We have great teamwork, and we've got great employees to help all of our clients achieve their goals. So choose Lakeside Title and Escrow if you've got a purchase, a refinance, home equity line of credit, whatever that may be.